Hey, what's happening, people? Good morning and welcome into the new time. If you are with us live here on Bet and Breakfast, if you are with us live, congratulations. It is just after 7 a.m. on the East Coast. If you're an early riser on the West Coast, welcome as well. And if you're joining us on demand through our podcast, we're happy to have you here. It is Super Bowl week. Very exciting times here over at BetSided. I'm Ben Heisler. With me is Peter Dewey and Reed Wallach. The Monday crew is here. I feel like this last week was in that weird transition for everybody, and maybe not so much for you guys because you're big college basketball and NBA buffs. But for me, who's just been so focused throughout most of the season on football, I kind of had that scratch for a while that I was just looking to itch. And then it's like, all right, I got a Pro Bowl. I got to wait another week. How do you guys feel like, just as NFL fans and bettors, having this extra week? Do you feel like your team is on a bye in a sense? Like, where's kind of your mindset at this point?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling because like you said, like we've had 20 straight weeks of football, and so then you have like this Pro Bowl break, which I mean I can't tell you the last time I watched the Pro Bowl, and from everything I saw yesterday on Twitter, it was not even a competition yesterday, which is fine. That's what it should be. Nobody should be getting hurt in that game.
Right.
Um, but so like it's very interesting because there's when you see all those props come out and stuff, like there's a part of me that's like, oh, should I jump on this? And then there's also a part of me that's like, okay, we got 10 days till this game. Like maybe we need to wait and bet something after, you know what I mean?
For sure. What about for you, Reed? Is it nice to have at least the finality coming up in a week, knowing that this is the end of it all?
Yeah, it was like a weird week because I feel like it was almost like everyone wanted a pause after like a crazy playoffs. There wasn't a lot of, I feel like it was a pretty subdued Super Bowl. I guess like this in between week. I feel like with the maybe Bengals and Rams aren't driving as much media. I imagine this week it's going to kick up, but it was like almost a little reprieve, like as someone who is really into college basketball and such, that this is what we're going to, I'm kind of going to get my time with college basketball for a little bit. But now with the NFL coming back, it's nice. I didn't watch the Pro Bowl though. I don't do that stuff, but no, I think it's good. Everyone got to settle in. I'm excited to see where this next week goes. I think the market's pretty set from a betting perspective. And now, in my opinion, I've been kind of more interested in props anyway, because I don't have a strong feeling on the game. Still, nothing's really changed on my front. So I'm kind of just ready to get into the weeds here on props. I know we're going to have like a prop draft later in the week, a lot of great stuff on BetSide, and we're going to really hit on really the ins and outs and get into this. So I'm pumped from like this next 6 days, getting into the ins and outs of how this game is going to go down.
Yeah, me too. I think there's always a scenario where we're like, well, what if we run out of things to talk about? The betting market
Impossible.
right. That's the beauty of the Super Bowl, is that the betting market will not allow you to have, a lack of topics. There is always something. There's thousands of props right now across the sports book, certainly over at WinBet, for anybody interested in checking those out. And while we certainly can't cover the thousands of options, we've put together a Super Bowl hub over at BetSided that includes all of our coverage leading up to the game. So whatever props we're going to be on, same game parlays, breaking down the actual game itself, that's all going to be there over at BetSided. But I wanted to start things off today because on the show today, of course, as Reed mentioned, we will dive into some props. We're all going to give one prop that we are almost convinced is going to move by the end of the week. So for anybody looking to jump on early, this is a great opportunity to do so. We will, of course, have our best bets coming up at the end of the show for Monday as well. I'm on an NBA game for today. Peter, not surprisingly, is also on one particular NBA team. You'll find out what that is in just a few minutes. Reed looking on the college basketball side. Again, not a surprise there as well. But I wanted to start things off today with which is sort of taking our collective temperature a little bit, because we were on last week right after the lines came out for Super Bowl 56. And Peter and I had early leans, and Reed, you were still waiting and trying to collect your senses, but you still had a lean to a certain extent. I want to go to you now and take that early lean that you had and ask you the following question. How are you feeling about it 1 week later? Are you all in on it? Are you back and wait and see approach? Or are you maybe starting to flip flop? Remember, the line is Rams -4. Bengals are plus 165 as an underdog, money line win. And the total right now at 48.5. The line has moved just a tad from where it opened at 3.5 up to 4. And the total has moved down from 50 down to 48.5. So given all of what you know over the last week, Reed, where are you as far as this opening line a week later?
Yeah, I'm kind of where I started. I'm not in a rush to jump in. I don't think this line's going to move significantly. I just keep coming back to getting this over a field goal. Again, for those that didn't listen last week, I lean towards the Bengals with the points. I'm not going to bet the Rams in this game. It will be a Bengals or pass for me. And if not, I'll just bet on, a bunch of props and all that. That is what's interesting to me anyway. But again, just getting over a key number. Both these quarterbacks, we've seen them thrive coming from behind, last man with the ball. I just think that there are ways for the Bengals to hold off this Rams pass rush. The Rams, I'm going to have a bunch of deep dive previews later this week, but the Rams aren't going to blitz. I think they're going to try and win with a 4-man front. But Joe Burrow is really good against zone defense, which is the Rams' point of attack typically. And this is all going to thread together with my prop and stuff, but Burrow, I think, is going to be able to get the ball out quick. We saw the Niners find success against that in the NFC Championship game against the Rams with quick screen passes to Deebo Samuel. I think the Bengals are going to be able to win that way and slow this game down. Again, maybe an underlook, but yeah, getting this over a field goal, though, it just feels like this game is going to come down to last team with the ball. So it feels important to get those numbers, those key numbers. So yeah, it's still, I'm kind of where I was before, a slightly into the Bengals, but this isn't like yep, let's back it up. We're going Bengals heavy here, which a great co-host of mine, I imagine, is going to be saying right after I jump off.
Yeah, I am all over the Bengals still. I literally took them like you guys said, like I said last show. The second that line came out, I was on the Bengals. I keep coming back to it comes down to who do I trust at quarterback, because I think these teams are very equal. I guess the Rams have a strong pass rush, and that is going to be an issue for the Bengals offensive line. But Joe Burrow's been great under pressure this year. He's been great under pressure in the playoffs. He got sacked 9 times against the Titans, and he did not make the big mistake. They still were able to win that game, which, you think about it, a lot of quarterbacks, you take 9 sacks, you're probably completely out of the game. They were never out of that game. They were winning that game basically the entire time. So I think there's a way, like Reed said, he can pick apart his own defense. If they only try and blitz forward and they try to get home with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, I think that actually benefits the Bengals a little bit. I think they can kind of just dink and dunk their way down the field. They don't have to throw the ball down the field. If you blitz and you play a lot of man, maybe they have to take some deep shots. You get home a couple times. But I think this comes down to the quarterback situation. I don't trust Matt Stafford not to turn the ball over. He should have turned the ball over and basically lost the NFC Championship game. I just think at some point it's going to come down to, is Matt Stafford going to make the big mistake or not? And I think this Bengals defense this entire time has been really underrated. They shut down Patrick Mahomes in the second half. They didn't allow Tyreek Hill to make a catch. I know they didn't look great in the first half, but the adjustments Zach Taylor has made in certain games this year have been super, super impressive. And I just think that's being overlooked because of the talent on the Rams side. There's no doubt they have more talent on the roster on paper, but it goes the whole way. And we've seen Sean McVay do some questionable stuff, as Reed has mentioned before, in timeouts and stuff. So I don't think this is, a clear cut. The Rams deserve to be 4-point favorites. I'm on the Bengals money line, but if I wasn't all over the Bengals, I would love the +4 getting it through 3 for sure.
All right, so you both make incredibly compelling points for the Bengals side, and that's part of the reason that I'm very wait and see when it comes to my initial lean on the Rams at -4. I still have the belief that the Rams pass rush is going to get through. I just don't have a lot of confidence in the Bengals offensive line with how they move guys around, especially with Donald being able to create pressure wherever they line him up. The 9 sacks given up against Tennessee, you were right. They were able to survive that, but in most scenarios, it's very difficult for me to fathom a situation in where a quarterback gets sacked 9 times and still is able to find a way to still take opportunities and shots downfield. With the Rams, you have more talent all over the field compared to Tennessee, which has most of their talent up front. So I still think Burrow is going to be running for his life, and that's part of the reason that there's a prop that I'm on, which I'll get to in a little bit later. But I'm still all in on the under, because I do think that there's going to be a pressure generated up front. I still think Stafford is capable of making that mistake. And even if one team does get off to a serious lead, you're still going to have a wide variety of opportunities for both offenses to make mistakes. And they're also run dominant teams. I think a lot of folks forget that the Rams like to run the ball. They see Matthew Stafford, and they see him second in the league in touchdowns. They see him taking a bunch of shots downfield to Cooper Kupp, to Odell Beckham, but they like to be conservative. And Sean McVay has actually been ridiculed for a lot of his conservative play calling, especially in second halves of games. So if the Rams go into halftime, maybe up a touchdown, and that line sort of continues, they're going to be incredibly conservative the rest of the way, knowing what they know and knowing situations where they've had tendencies to either blow leads or to give up the big play at the wrong time. So I love this under still. And the fact that it stayed at 48.5 has me a little bit concerned. I thought it maybe would move down to maybe 48, 47.5. Hasn't gotten to that number just yet. All right,
Ben, really quick. I cut you off there, but I think going with your under play, what about the first half under?
I have to double check what that number is.
I think I might, just because I like where your head's at with the under, but I feel like Stafford's going to throw an interception. I feel like Stafford, there's going to be game-changing plays in the turnover department, but I just feel like these two teams, they play very conservative, and Cincinnati, they're bottom 3 in neutral game pace. I feel like this game's going to come out really slow, and both teams are going to be really, really, buttoned up early. And then as we get into the game, you're going to see that Stafford interception. You're going to see the Burrow big sack, maybe a fumble. I think you're going to see a very slow start to this one. So I like the under in the game, but I feel like if I'm betting it, I might look to the first half under, just to kind of piggyback on your point.
So the actual number over at WinBet right now, and I'm someone who usually likes first quarter numbers as opposed to first half numbers, but I think I'm with you here, Reed, because the line on this is 23.5 over at WinBet.
Still like that under, I think.
I think I do too.
Like
because
10-7.5.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think it might be really tight.
Especially the way the Bengals came out in the AFC Championship game, where Zach Taylor wanted to run the ball on first and second down every single play, every single drive. If they do that again, I don't see them scoring a ton of points in the first half.
And how often have the Bengals talked about being a second half team as well?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard. I shouldn't say it's hard to envision a scenario where the Rams don't get off to a nice start, because they've done that in the postseason as well. Their offense has clicked. The scripted plays from McVay have been successful. And I do think they're going to test the Bengals secondary initially, but I do think you're right, Reed. I think that pace might slow down. 23.5 feels like a reasonable number if you're looking to go under on the first half. You also get good odds over at WinBet as well. The over right now at -120 for the first half at 23.5. Under is just at -110. So definitely
that's going in the account right now as we talk.
So there you go. Nothing like an early morning bet to kick off. That is the essence of this show. So with that being said, I think it's a good opportunity now to start diving into a lot of these different props that we've been looking at. And again, there's going to be even more that come out over the course of the week. Remember, and Reed, I know you want to elaborate on this a little bit further, but sort of the key thing to understand for anybody that's fairly new into the betting space, that's looking to get started, that wants to bet some props for the Super Bowl. If you want to go over, you got to bet a lot of these numbers sooner rather than later, because the public is going to jump on the over and they will never let go. So the sort of the rule of thumb that you have to remember here is early overs, late unders. If you're looking to bet a lot of props on Super Bowl Sunday, unders are likely the way to go. But Reed, I know you had a little bit of follow-up on that.
Yeah, no, I just think that when you're, especially the big names, everyone wants like Jamar Chase over receiving, because everyone wants to root for Jamar Chase, and everyone thinks Jamar Chase is really good. Of course he is, but it's finding the best number. I think that if you could find the opening numbers and try and give yourself a value of, okay, if a prop is going to be 5 yards ahead because everyone's bet into it already, you've missed the number. You've missed that great original number. Odell Beckham is someone that's been adjusted pretty high over these postseason, but is the line high enough? Maybe not. People are going to keep betting into Odell Beckham props, Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow passing props. All these guys are going to be bet overs because no one's going to see an under, but you have to find that buy point of, okay, this is actually too high. It's more likely he's going to go under. So I could give out where I'm looking in the prop market.
Yeah,
I'm actually going more like off the beaten path, I guess. I'm looking at Tyler Boyd overs, and then I'm waiting to see the injury reports on CJ Uzomah and Tyler Higbee before I bet both teams tight end over receiving props. I think both teams are going to look to pass. I think that this game is going to pick up at a certain point, but Tyler Boyd is really my key for this Bengals offense, because if the Rams are going to bring a 4-man front because they don't blitz at, insane clip anyway, I think they're going to drop a lot of guys back in to coverage. That's going to open up Tyler Boyd underneath. He's their most used short route receiver. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, I think, are going to receive the Jalen Ramsey coverage. I think they're going to go deep. Boyd's receiving yards prop is only at 40.5. His receptions prop is at 4 with even money. I think Boyd's going to be involved often. I'm probably going to be kind of sprayed across the board on him as well, him to score a touchdown. I think Boyd is really that kind of X factor guy that I could see actually having a big game compared to Higgins and Jamar Chase.
What about for you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm looking at Cooper Kupp's receiving yards. It's at 105.5 right now, and I believe the over is juiced to -125 at Win. And if you look at Cooper Kupp's last 2 games, he's gone for 142 and 183 in the receiving department. So I think this is going to fly. People are going to look at that and be like, oh, he goes over this every game. And so I really think that his number's going to fly. I'm hoping it gets up, like, if we can push like 110, which is, I doubt it gets that high, but like I kind of like the under here. I think that the Cincinnati defense has been really good. Like I said, they shut down Tyreek Hill in the second half of that AFC Championship game. So depending upon where this one goes to, I'm going to wait and see if I can grab the under, just because as great as Cooper Kupp is, like, it is not easy to just put up 130, 140 yards every week. And so if everybody thinks that's what the status quo is going to be and it's going to move much further over 105, that's kind of where I'm leaning. But I also like right now the over on Joe Burrow's pass attempts is at 36.5. And I want to grab this one, like we talked about early in the week. You want to take the overs before it moves, because right now Burrow has gone 4 of 5 games. He's gone over that number. And if they're going to be playing from behind the way the spread indicates, or he's going to be running for his life, I expect he's going to have to throw the ball a decent amount. So do love the Burrow over, but wait and see on the Kupp under. I think that line's going to move a lot.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to consider there too is that if you do expect the Rams to be throwing quite a bit, and Peter, I know that you like the over on Burrow passing attempts, so maybe that leads into something else with Tyler Boyd as well. But I think especially with Kupp, if you think he's going to be limited, maybe that does create an opportunity to go over on somebody else. Maybe Odell Beckham is in play. Maybe somebody like Tyler Higbee. Maybe there's an opportunity to go deep to Van Jefferson. Sometimes if you're leaning under on some of these other big name guys, it does create an overvalue to a handful of other players on that team. So we'll see whether or not some of those other numbers move throughout the course of the week. I'm on Joe Burrow as well, but not for passing yards. I really like his over in rushing yards. Right now, that is juiced a little bit high over at WinBet. It's at -125. I've talked to you guys about this last week. I still envision a scenario where this year's Super Bowl is reminiscent to last year's Super Bowl, where Pat Mahomes and a disheveled Chiefs offensive line spent him running for his life the entire time against Tom Brady and the rest of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front four. Mahomes, there was a stat from Next Gen that said he ran for just under 500 yards in that game, just trying to escape. The final result was 5 rushes for 33 yards. But the Rams, what they do so well is they don't need to blitz. They blitzed the 23rd most amount of times in the NFL this year, but they had a sack rate in the top 3. So they're going to create a lot of pressure directly from the guys up front and still be able to move. Like you said, remember we mentioned the zone defense. They're still going to be able to have a lot of guys in place, and Ramsey's going to be able to take whatever guy he wants here. So I still think they're going to generate pressure, and Burrow will have to run at some point. And some of those designed runs on 3rd and long, where Burrow just kind of waited a quick second and then just went right back up the middle, ended up being really effective against Kansas City. I think that's going to be something that they absolutely game plan for, because Burrow is a lot tougher to bring down than I think a lot of folks anticipated. So the 11
against the Chiefs. Against the Chiefs, he had a few big runs, scrambles on 3rd downs for sure.
Yeah. And that, I think, changed an element for them. I think now defenses kind of have to remember that it's something that they can pull off. So if all of a sudden Burrow starts doing it again, he gets 1 yard, gets 1 rush for 6-7 yards, that creates a few more opportunities for him to be able to move the chains, keep the ball on the field for them. So I really think it's a good opportunity for him to go over that number. We're already seeing the juice go in that direction. So I believe that number is absolutely going to change by the end of the week. So we've gone over how we feel a week later from our initial leans. We've talked about the props that we feel are on the move. Let's dive into our best bets for today. We got, of course, 2 games in the NBA, 1 game in college. So, Reed, I will kick things off with you since you are the lone college bet, looking into the Atlantic 10. And we head to Richmond, Virginia for this game between Richmond as an 8-point favorite against George Mason. Who do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to take the dog, George Mason, here. I just think that Richmond's a team I am looking to play on, but it seems like the market is almost ahead of the wagon. I think that 8 points is too much. Even bumping up Richmond, who is due for some better shooting down the stretch of this season, I can't get past 6 here. George Mason is the much better team around the rim, top 50 in near proximity percentage. Also, the better 3-point shooting team. They're shooting nearly 39% from 3 this season. I think this is a lot of points. George Mason's also 6-1 against the spread on the road this season and as an underdog. So I like them. I think they can hang around. 8 points is a lot to get to in a conference game. And Richmond coming off a big win against St. Bonaventure on Friday. I just see a bit of a letdown. This game's a little bit closer.
Yeah, I really like that call on Richmond over the Bonnies. Tailed you on that one.
Thank you.
Appreciated that play as well. Peter, it's once again a Monday. It's another opportunity for you to, for some reason, bet the Knicks. But I will give you the platform to go ahead and make your case here. They are 7.5-point dogs against the Utah Jazz. Please. We've been trying to help you.
What do you think it's going to be? What do you think?
We've been trying to help you. The roller coaster ride that you put yourself through each and every day that the Knicks play is a lot to handle. But the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, listen. I mean, this isn't for the faint of heart. I can tell you that. If you want to back the Knicks,
Blood your nose.
Yeah, this is rough, man. I gotta say, I didn't bet on the Knicks when they played the Lakers, and I am so glad I didn't because that would have been a absolutely awful beat to lose that game in overtime. So I feel terrible for everybody who took the Knicks plus 5.5 in that game because that was not fun. But tough. Tonight, I think the Knicks can cover the 7.5. Rudy Gobert, he has a calf injury. He's not going to play for the Jazz. And if you look at the Jazz this year, in 11 games that Gobert has missed, they are 3-8 straight up. And they have only won 1 game against the shorthanded Brooklyn Nets by more than 4 points in those 3 wins. And the other thing I think that is the most important part is the Jazz are very good defensively when Rudy Gobert is in. They are horrible defensively when he is out there, 25th in the NBA in defensive rating. Before they won their last 2 games when Donovan Mitchell returned, they had the worst defensive rating in the NBA when Rudy Gobert was not in the lineup. So I think this is a game where a Knicks team that likes to slow the pace and play defense might be able to get some easier baskets down low. I think this benefits Julius Randle and RJ Barrett a lot getting to the rim. The Knicks we saw against the Lakers, they went right at Anthony Davis, and it worked. They were able to get to the rim. They got a lot of easy buckets. They drew a lot of fouls. I mean, the second half offense was absolutely terrible. You got to think Tom Thibodeau goes back to his bench a little bit more, considering RJ Barrett played 49 minutes on Saturday. Emmanuel quickly only played 5 minutes in that loss. So I got to think him, Quentin Grimes, they get a little bit more action in this game, maybe change up and give them some more offense. But I think Utah's by far the better team. I would not touch Knicks money line in a million years, but I just don't think 7.5 points is enough for a team that really has played pretty terrible without Rudy Gobert this year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And especially given what the Knicks might be able to do inside without Gobert, I think that's going to slow the tempo down. So I would almost consider the under in this matchup as well over between the Knicks and the Jazz. But I do like the play. We know we give you a hard time about the Knicks, but I actually do really like that call. I'll probably tell you on that one tonight. I'm going with another NBA game. I like Miami. I got them last night at -4 when I was putting the show together. That line has since moved to -5. Over at WinBet. They are on the road against Washington. The Wizards are just a bizarre team right now, and they're also dealing with some injuries with Bradley Beal. He's been out the last 3 games. And their offense is just so stagnant at this point. They're not moving the ball particularly well. Kyle Kuzma has been leading them in scoring, and anytime Kyle Kuzma is your leading scorer, you might want to step back and reevaluate things for just a second. But they just got stomped, by the way, in their home building against the Suns. They only scored 80 points at home against a very good Phoenix team, albeit, but it just had no movement whatsoever. They were settling for bad outside shots. There's just zero confidence with the Wizards right now, especially in their their home buildings, 5 straight losses, less than 100 points in 4 of their last 6 games. Meanwhile, you have a Miami team that cruised off a victory on Saturday night. That's when both of these teams last played. The Heat are a top 6 defensive efficiency team. You mix that in with a Washington team that can't score right now. They're a bottom 8 offensive rating team in the league. Just does not feel like a good scenario. And we still don't know if Bradley Beal is going to play. But the way in which the line is moving would indicate that he's probably again out. And if he is out, I wouldn't be surprised if this line ends up maybe with Miami Miami maybe -7, -7.5. So jump on this one early. I think Miami's going to be in complete control the entire game, regardless of whether Beal plays or not. But if he does not play, then you're not going to be able to get it at this line a little bit later on. So there you have it, guys. That is our show, the first edition of Bet and Breakfast for Super Bowl week at the new time. If anyone's just joining us for the first time, so glad to have you on with us here on the live stream. Or if you're just checking us out on the podcast, please make sure you rate and review us wherever you get this podcast from. We'll, of course, have plenty of Super Bowl coverage all week long, not just here on Bet and Breakfast, but at BetSided and right here on our YouTube channel as well. I think Reed mentioned a little bit early on, we're going to have a prop bet draft coming up later on in the week. We'll have our best bets for props coming up a little bit later on this week as well. So this is the place to be if you want extended, fun Super Bowl coverage that is easily digestible and relatable for everybody under the sun. We're not going to bombard you with as much stuff as possible. We're going to help you win your way over the course of the week. So for my guys, Reed and Peter, I am Ben. We thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Thursday for a brand new episode of Bet and Breakfast and maybe a surprise along the way as well. Until then, talk to you then. So long.